She drank pus. She wore Jesus' foreskin.
She drank pus?
Mm-hmm.
P-U-S.
Yep. She wore Jesus' foreskin as a ring. And now...
Jesus' foreskin as a ring?
Mm-hmm. And now...
That's nasty.
Her head is on the altar of the church in Siena.
Where's Siena?
Italy.
Okay.
Like her head is just like right there. And you can like go... And it never decayed. So the skin is still on it. And she lived in the 1300s. And you go see her.
I've been to some of those cathedrals.
Oh, it's my favorite. I mean, it's why I became Catholic.
Here's some priest or whoever he is, I don't know who he is, and he's just like a mummy. Like, it's nasty.
Yeah.
Like, it looks
it's why
really
I became
gross.
Catholic, Rick.
Like, became black. Like.
It's why I converted, Rick.
Welcome to Gospel Tangents, the best source for Mormon history, science, and theology. I'm Rick Bennett. In our final conversation with Dr. Cristina Rosetti, we'll talk about Mormons and Catholics. Is the Catholic Church the great and abominable church? And what does Cristina Rosetti, a Catholic, think about that scripture, and Bruce R McConkie in particular? So we'll also talk a little bit about addressing religious violence. You know, Mormons have had the Mountain Meadows massacre. Catholics have had the Crusades. How does she deal with those topics? And finally, we'll talk about whether religions are on decline. She has a surprising take on that, and we'll decide if this is just a small downswing before an upswing. You won't want to miss this conversation. Check it out.
Aren't I also the greatest of abominables?
Oh, we haven't gone there, have we?
The great whore of Babylon?
Do you have any thoughts on the Book of Mormon there? In the Catholic Church?
Of that particular part?
Yeah.
Not really.
Not really.
No. I mean, Bruce R. McConkie said it's me. My people.
And? You weren't offended?
He's allowed to think that. I mean, here's the thing. It's not like the Catholic Church has high views of the LDS Church. Right? Like, it's not like we've been just so kind to LDS people that like...
A little blowback's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll take it. It's fine. I mean, the Catholic Church has historically had a very strong opinion about Mormonism. So, of course, the LDS Church would have a strong opinion about Catholicism. The one reason I do think it's a little strange that they butted heads so ardently is because Mormons and Catholics were both viewed very negatively in the 19th century.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know that great picture of the Capitol, and there's the two, like, there's a crocodile and an alligator,
yes.
And one's the Mormons, and it says, like, Romanist. It doesn't say maybe it does say Catholic, but, like, we're the Papists, and you're the Mormons. Like, both were hated so vehemently by Protestant America that the fact that they couldn't get along either, like, you'd think that they would have been like, well,
you're only like 100 times bigger than us.
1.3 billion.
Maybe 1,000.
I mean, there's 16 million.
Yeah, 100, I guess I was right.
16 million LDS people,
yeah.
Right?
Officially.
I have never said that number to an LDS person who hasn't been like, well, on the rolls, but just take it. Just take 16 million. I mean, but that's the same for Catholicism.
Yeah, there's only like 900 million.
I don't know. But I mean, that is because they track numbers differently. It would be because.
Well, you can say you're a Catholic and never go to church, and maybe you can say that with Mormons too, I guess, but.
The lived religion. But I mean, what is it?
How many active Catholics are there really?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how many active LDS there are. How would you know this answer?
Well, John DeLynn said it's about 30%.
Do you know how he got that number?
He used to work at the church.
Oh, so he actually would know.
Yeah. I mean, but those are old numbers, so I don't know.
I mean, I don't know how many practicing.
Yeah.
Catholic. I don't know. My church is pretty bumping on Sunday.
So one other question for you, and then I'll let you go because I know I've kept you a long time, and it's going to be another Catholic question. Is earlier in the conversation you were talking about how the Reformation kind of offended you.
I mean, I wouldn't say offense. I think I was taught or I think from my learning about generic history, I had a very different vision of what it was than.
It was a lot more violent than you expected.
Yeah, I just learned like someone nailed something to a door, which later I find out probably didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
He probably just gave it to his bishop. Like, here you go. But I had
Really?
learned a very like standard.
That's just anti-Luther propaganda.
This anti-Luther literature. I had just been like, I had been told like there's this guy named Luther. I don't think I ever really learned about John Calvin. I certainly didn't hear about Zwingli. And so I think it was just a very stark like, wait a minute. This is not what I thought this was.
Yeah.
And I mean, every religious group was violent. Like this is not to say that Catholics weren't, of course. But I think I had been kind of portrayed or given a kind of more.
Well, the Catholic churches were the ones who persecuted Luther.
But I feel
Luther, he was fine.
I don't know if he was fine with his very anti-Semitic documents that he wrote. I don't think he was fine, but I had just been given kind of a very particular picture of what the Reformation was. And turns out that's not what it was.
Right. Well, my question was, tying it back to Catholics, when you looked into the Crusades, did you feel the same way?
Well, I mean, I don't love violence, religious violence. Like, I'm not, just like I wasn't here to justify or make excuses for the sex abuse crisis. I'm not, I'm not going to make excuses for the attempt at territorial expansion that cost the lives of thousands of people. I'm just not, in general, I'm just not interested in trying to like
justify religious violence.
Excuse violence in the name of religion. I'm just not here for that. And I realize that I 100% recognize that that's, that a lot of people do leave religious traditions over the history. And I think this is something that the LDS Church also deals with all the time, of people being uncomfortable with the history, of being uncomfortable with the past and leaving. And that absolutely is something that happens in Catholicism as well. And so I do think religious traditions generally need to talk about it and need to have very transparent, honest conversations about the aspects of the faith that have caused great harm. I think that's really the only way forward.
Okay. And I mean, our conference, it's the Juanita Brooks conference. Her big claim to fame is the Mountain Meadows massacre. Yeah. So, I mean, you would never excuse any religious violence, Mormon, Catholic, Reformation, Protestant.
Why would I?
Yeah. A lot of people got to defend the faith at all costs.
Well, no. I mean, I'm not here to. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. But
do you think that some people use, and I'll just pick multiple examples, Mountain Meadows, Crusades, even let's go with Islam a little bit with the jihad, as kind of just a club to bash religion.
Which is, I mean, that is one of the interesting things, is that the Crusades were, they were empires. This was the Ottoman Empire versus Christendom. Like, these were wars over territorial expansion. And so, I mean, that's also definitely part of the conversation. But anyway, continue your story.
But do people use that as a club unfairly against religion?
I mean, maybe, but also in those stories, there was a literal club, like people died. Mm-hmm. I mean, in general, I'm really interested in talking to people who have disagreements about like the theology or the doctrine. But if someone is hurt or harmed by the fact that people were murdered, like I can't take that, like that happened, I
heard a joke by John Hammer recently, and he said, there's a story about, well, I want a church that ordains women and is gay friendly and progressive and all these things. And he's like, check. Well, you should join the Community of Christ. And they're like, no, I just want to bash religion.
Well, I mean, and people have been harmed by religion. Yeah. Like, that's also very much a thing. Like, that is a reality. I think that two things that Catholicism has that Mormonism doesn't, not in terms of being right or wrong, but just in terms of like how we look at the history. The first is historical distance. That's a big thing that Catholicism has that the LDS Church doesn't. Mountain Meadows Massacre happened very recently in the grand scheme of history.
Right.
The Crusades happened a long time ago. And granted, they're still talked about, they're still history, but the historical distance is something that the LDS Church has not received the benefit of.
200 versus 2,000 years.
Yeah, that's different. The second is a lot of people don't learn about Mountain Meadows Massacre. Juanita Brooks didn't learn about the real history of it when she was young. A lot of people don't learn about that. I learned about the Crusades in Western Civ.
Mm-hmm.
So it was never a surprise. So I think I know there's a lot of talk about informed consent in ex-Mormon circles.
Right.
And about that whole conversation, which I think is really an important conversation to have. I do feel like I joined Catholicism with informed consent. I joined it in the middle of the sex abuse crisis. So that was not being hid from me. I couldn't get away from that news.
Right.
I had learned about the Crusades in Western Civ. I went, and then the spiritual formation I did in my 6 months of catechism. And I do think that is something that is crucial. One of the things.
So give us 1,800 more years and it'll be okay.
Well, yes, but I think there's a difference between, and this just gets into like how churches operate, I guess, but I think there's a difference between convert numbers and convert retention. And I think Orthodoxy is having its own moment right now. A lot of people are joining Orthodoxy. Just want to do a plug. There's a great book by Sarah Riccardi-Schwartz who wrote Between Heaven and Russia about all the people converting to Orthodoxy right now in the United States. I think Catholicism and Orthodoxy get less adult converts. I don't know the difference in retention, but I would wager the retention is pretty good among people who convert as adults to those two traditions. I'm not sure what the retention rate is for LDS people, but I think but I'm sure the LDS gets more converts globally among adults. And so I think there's a difference with that too. And I think it comes with like learning the history and being told up front and having full knowledge of what you're getting into lends to higher retention ultimately as well. So I think it is all that to say, I think there is a benefit to saying, this is what the Mountain Meadows Massacre was. This is what happened. And just being upfront with that history and having those hard conversations up front.
I know a lot of people say we kind of have waves. You had the first Great Awakening, which was in the 1700s, mm-hmm. the Second Great Awakening, which was around 1830s, Joseph Smith time. I've heard some people refer to 1950s as a possible Third Great Awakening. Mm-hmm. And it seems like now, especially the, I don't know if I want to say ex-Mormon, but all churches right now are suffering losses, every church. Mm-hmm. And so is this just another dip until our Fourth Great Awakening? Do you see that cycle?
I mean, possibly. And that is something that I think is forgotten in the story of awakenings, is most of them came up right after a decline. The First Great Awakening is a huge revival, but it comes on the back of Puritanism dying out. Like, there are no Puritans anymore.
I thought they were Congregationalists.
But like the Puritans are gone.
Yeah.
Like no one's like a Puritan. No one says I'm a Puritan.
Right.
They're gone. Like no one's naming their kid Prudence. No, like what Prudence something or other. Like there's a bunch of people name their kid Prudence. That's fine. But like the Puritan names that are like, have you ever seen those names that are like, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away, Smith? Prudence is the best virtue among all virtues, also temperance, Johnson. Like the Puritan name, like you don't see that anymore. And it's because there was a severe decline right before revival started. Uh-huh. So I think that could be the case. It also could be the people just leaving religion.
Do you see this as permanent?
I don't think I see most things as permanent in like the historic trajectory, just because we have seen such like ebbs and flows of how things operate in the world. I do think, I mentioned the rise in orthodoxy, we are seeing an upswing in people converting to orthodoxy. One of the things that I'm interested in watching, I think Gen Z is its own thing that we just don't know the trajectory of what's going to happen with that. But one of the things that's been interesting to watch in terms of trends is we also saw similar talk when millennials were leaving. There was all this talk about millennials are leaving the church. And that's true. But a lot of millennials are coming back. And that's where the growth in orthodoxy is coming from. I mean, I left religion. I came back a Roman Catholic. And so I think we're seeing...
You're a millennial?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think we're seeing...
Gen X.
I don't know what Gen Z is doing, so I don't think I can speak for that. But I think it's going to be interesting to see, like, when it's all said and done, is the rise in orthodoxy and the number of people converting to orthodoxy, are those millennials coming back? Is that going to change the religious landscape? There have been, like, I think it's like the diocese of, like, I don't know, Maryland or something. I saw on Twitter that they have like 1,500 people joining in just that one diocese this year, which is wild.
Yeah.
So I think that might be kind of an upswing in some traditions, but I mean, time will tell. I don't like to make giant predictions about permanency, but
You're a historian, right? Not a future teller?
I am not a fortune teller. But I mean, I don't know. I think some religions will do better than others, but I think also we're seeing an increased polarization and maybe you've noticed that we're becoming increasingly polarized.
Really?
What?
Newsflash.
In the realm of politics, are we becoming a more polarized nation? But I think we're also seeing that with religion, that people are either becoming...
Is politics the new religion? At least in America?
I don't know. But we are seeing people like with the rise in orthodoxy. Like, why are people joining orthodoxy?
So orthodoxy is on the ascent?
We're seeing a lot of people joining. Yeah. But that's and we're also seeing a lot of people leave religion. So is that just the polarization, another iteration of our polarized world? Maybe. I think that's an interesting kind of way of looking at why people are either leaving or joining Russian Orthodoxy. But so time will tell, but I think that's also an interesting kind of way to think about what's going on.
Well, very good. I think that's a good note to end on.
Thanks, Rick.
So I really appreciate you, Dr. Cristina Rosetti, for being here on Gospel Tangents. Do you have any idea when your book on Joseph Musser is coming out?
It's either going to be I've heard either the last quarter of this year or very early next year. So It's in copy edits. So page proof should be 4 months, and then
who's publishing it?
University of Illinois. So it's part of the Mormon Thought series that Joe Spencer and Matthew Bowman are doing.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So I think they have. What are the ones that already came out?
I don't know.
Eugene England. Christine Hagelin wrote Eugene England.
Oh, okay.
Michael Austin wrote one.
Oh, so it's not a real big book.
No, it's little.
It's a thin book.
It's little. But then Brian Buchanan and I have edited the diaries of Joseph Musser as well as the correspondences. That's a big one. And Signature.
And that's through Signature.
Signature is going to publish that.
Okay.
Yeah. And that
so you got 2 books coming out.
Yes, eventually.
And when
Signature, we're still. I mean, we signed the contract, and we're just finishing doing all of the annotations.
Okay.
So it'll be an annotated documentary history.
Very good. Very good. All right. So I'm going to have you on for both books.
We'll see.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you being here on Gospel Tangents. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much, Rick.
Mm-hmm. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Dr. Cristina Rosetti. Cristina, I can't wait for your books on Joseph Musser to come out so that we can get you back on. So that'll be a lot of fun. In our next conversation, we're going to turn to the Heartland and talk about a limited geography theory with J. Mackley. Because Rod and Jonathan Neville, is there a third one that I'm missing?
Ryan Nelson. Wayne May.
And Wayne May. Yeah. They cover about 1.5 million square miles.
That's correct.
And how big is yours?
1/10 of that, 150,000 square miles.
I think it would be appealing to those who who believe it's more of a limited geography. They just think that 1.5 million square miles is way too big.
No, it's ridiculous. 1.5 million square miles is just, it doesn't fit the Book of Mormon.
If you'd like to hear the entire interview uncut, you can hear the audio only at patreon.com/gospeltangents. For just $5 a month, you can hear the entire interview with no interruptions. If you want to watch the entire video for just $8 a month, you can also sign up at Patreon or on youtube.com/gospeltangents and just subscribe here. You can watch the entire video uncut before everybody else. Also, if you'd like to continue to support Gospel Tangents, you can either sign up for our $10 or $20 memberships, or you can get some cool gear like this hat. I've got the coffee mugs like this here. We've got sweatshirts and t-shirts, and I'm even thinking about ties. Somebody said they wanted a tie, so I'll see if I can get that on my store. So go to gospeltangents.com store, and you can get some Gospel Tangents gear. So you don't want to miss that. So anyway, thanks for listening. If you'd like to check out some of our other videos, check out here.